Okay. I think we're live. Yep. Okay. It's saying we're live now. Okay. I'm getting better with this live here on YouTube, y'all. Top of the day, top of the day. Betwabble, guys. Got some stories for y'all today. Listen, I don't know how many of y'all, well, if y'all haven't read the Apocrypha, if you haven't actually sat down and read through Jasher, you may not have been privy to some of the details of what was actually going on inside of Sodom and Gomorrah. But today, since that lines up with our reading today, that's the part we're going to pull out. We're going to pull out that part. And you remember the shenanigans Abraham and Sarah pulled when they went into a couple different places and they said, look, you so beautiful. You need to tell them that I'm your brother. If they ask me, I'm going to say you my sister. On this, when we do this, at least I get to keep my life and they won't, they won't kill me, because Sarah was so beautiful that whoever saw her, they was just in awe of her beauty. So we're gonna pull that out. And when we read Genesis, we only see one of those accounts with King Abimelech. But did y'all know that it happened before it happened to King Abimelech? And they heard about what had happened. They realized that, oh, this that chick that Pharaoh and them were talking about. Look, yo, bro, she got gold. So I'm gonna pull that out. So all right, y'all. So happy Wednesday. It is November 25th, 2020, day 7 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, it is day 675. 675. So we're going to read Genesis 19, 20, and 21. Then we're going to read in Jasher 18 and 19 the details, like they give you vivid details about what happened in Jasher 18 and 19 about what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. And you will see some of the relating factors from the expanded story that we're going to read here in Genesis 19, right? And after we read the details of Sodom and Gomorrah, good morning, sis. Glad to see you this morning, Shelby. We're going to see what went down with Pharaoh's house before they actually got to King Abimelech's house, and that same thing begins to happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me minimize my screen here so I can see. Here it is. That's not what I wanted. Okay. This is 19. Okay. Move this over so I can see this. Okay. Okay, people. All right, Genesis chapter 19. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance. Remember yesterday, it left off where they were walking, heading towards, the two men had left off and went ahead and headed towards Sodom and Gomorrah. And y'all stayed back saying, should I reveal to my friend Abraham what I'm about to do over here in this place? And that's when they started going back and forth. What if you can only find 50 righteous people, all the way down to what if you can only find 10? Okay. And the story picks up here today. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Remember, those are the two that went ahead after they just had finished eating on the porch with Abraham, right? Okay, them two went ahead, so they finally arrived in Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot was sitting there. When he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, come to my house, wash your feet, and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way again. Oh no, they replied, we'll just spend the night out here in the city square. Now, remember this. You're going to see why they should not have been spending the night in the city square, but they knew why. They wanted to be there and actually watch and verify that what was happening in the middle of the city, broad daylight and nighttime, was really happening, right? They said, oh no, they replied, we'll just spend the night out here in the city square. But Lot insisted. Lot knew what was going on. Lot insisted, so at last they went home with him. Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them." Oh, they was doing so much more out here in the city square, all this. Oh, we're going to get to it. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have two virgin daughters." Remember we talked about this last time? I'm like, well, hold up, Pops. How you just volunteer us? We virgins, and we didn't come to this consensus that we're going to give our virginity to these disgusting men in the city square. I would have been pissed with Lot. I would have been real pissed with Lot. Listen. So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have two virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you." Well, I tell you, you can't be safe nowhere. "Look, I have two virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish." I'd have been like, "Dad, it's time for you to go see your maker tonight. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and are under my protection." "Stand back," they shouted, "for this fellow came to town as an outsider, and now he's here acting like our judge. We'll treat you far worse than those other men." And they lunged forward to Lot to break down the door. But the two angels reached out, pulled Lot into the house, and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house, so they gave up trying to get inside. Meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. "Do you have any other relatives here in this city?" they asked. "Get them out of this place, your sons-in-laws, sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great that it has reached to Yahuwah, and he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, "Quick, get out of the city. Yahuwah is about to destroy it." But the young men thought he was only joking. Now, from what I understand, Lot doesn't just have two daughters, these two virgin daughters. He has two other daughters. So from what I get from here, and also what we're going to read here in a few minutes, he has four daughters. And you're going to see why. I'll bring it out when we get there. Remember, these were the two virgins who had not been touched by a man, right? But he also had, look, they mentioned your sons-in-laws, right? So he had daughters who were actually married to these sons-in-laws. So he had it, and we know that he had at least two sons-in-laws. So he had at least two other daughters. So he had about four daughters. He may have had more, but from what I surmise, he had at least four. Two were married, two were virgins. Okay, remember this, y'all. Remember this, and you're going to see why. Because it has to do with Lot's wife and why it wasn't that she wanted to go back here. Two of their daughters did not go with them. We're going to get to it, y'all. We're going to get to it. Okay. "For we are about to destroy the city completely. The outcry against this place is so great it has reached to Yahuwah, and he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, "Quick, get out of the city. Yahuwah is about to destroy it." But the young men thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. "Hurry," they said to Lot, "take your wife and your two daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away by the destruction of the city." When Lot still hesitated, the angel seized his hand and the hands of his wife and two daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city. Like the angels knew, don't worry about your sons-in-laws or your daughters. They ain't no hope for them. You get the ones right here with you now, and let's go. When they were safely outside of the city, one of the angels ordered, "Run for your lives, and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away." "Oh no, my lord," Lot begged. "You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such greatness, but I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there's a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved." "All right," the angel said, "I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village," because this little village was also in a lineup to be destroyed. He wasn't just destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. He was destroying all the surrounding cities, because all of them was being affected by the disgusting acts that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah and the people who was traveling around. All right, the angel said, I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village, but hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. This explains why that village is known as Zoar, which means little place. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then Yahuwah rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Like I said, when we get over, you're going to see why she looked back there. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried to the place where he had stood in Yahuwah's presence. He looked out across the plain towards Sodom and Gomorrah and watched as the columns of smoke rose from the cities like smoke from a furnace. But Yahuwah had listened to Abram's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities in the plain. Can you imagine Abraham's face when he got out there that morning? He yarned, oh, wait a minute. I remember the conversation from last night. Hurry up and got to that place and just looked like, oh, shoot. I don't think y'all found at least 10 righteous people. But he had to take Yahuwah's word that he kept Lot. Afterward, Lot left Zoar because he was afraid of the people there, and he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his 2 daughters. One day, the older daughter said to her sister, there are no men left anywhere in this entire city, so we can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. Come, let us get him drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him, that we will preserve our family line through our father. So that night, they got drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. These 2 disgusting heifers. Let me tell y'all something. Although Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, apparently Sodom and Gomorrah had gotten inside of these 2 virgin daughters of his, which is probably why he was like, look, I got 2 daughters. We probably didn't even hear the whole conversation. They've been affected by this. Although they ain't been with a man yet, I can tell they got tendencies that they might be doing some of the same stuff. And apparently, we see, he didn't say that those are my thoughts, so I'm not added to it, but from what I surmise from all the information that I currently hold at this point. So that night, they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, I had sex with our father last night. I would have threw up. And I was like, I can't go through with this plan, sis. And how drunk you got to be for you? I mean, it don't work for real. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they got him drunk with. When he was so drunk, when he was out of his mind, he didn't know, but still kept members of his body working. I'm just saying, y'all. I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go in and have sex with him. That way, we will preserve our family line through our father. This is disgusting. So that night, they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. As before, he was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. When the older daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Moab. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Moabites. Remember last time I brought this out? Remember this where the Moabites and the Ammonites came from, and they caused a whole lot of trouble here in the future because that's where their origin comes from. Is 2 virgin, disgusting daughters who had incest with their father, which was against Yahuwah's law, and we know because it's reiterated in the laws when they come back out of Egypt. Although we don't see it written here, it was always against Yahuwah's law, right? Hold my stomach in place, y'all. Okay, so Moab, the Moabites and the Ammonites, we're going to read about them a little later in some chapters to come. All right. He became the ancestor of the nation known as the Moabites. When a younger daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Ben-Ami. He became the ancestor of the nation now known as the Ammonites. All right, Genesis chapter 20. Abraham moved south to the Negev and lived there a while between Kadesh and Shur, and he moved on to Gerar. While living there as a foreigner, Abraham introduced his wife, Sarah, by saying, she is my sister. Okay, so remember right here, y'all, this is the second time this is happening, but we're going to look at that here in a few minutes. Abraham introduced his wife Sarah by saying, "She is my sister." So King Abimelech of Gerar sent for Sarah and had her brought to him at his palace. But at night, Yahuwah came to Abimelech in a dream and told him, "You are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married." Just imagine if people today who would creep around and stuff, if Yahuwah was, I mean, their hearts is probably so callous now that even if they had a dream, they wouldn't even consider that it was Yahuwah talking to them. But imagine even those things, if that would happen, or who would listen to Yah, it would keep people from breaking some of Yahuwah's commands, right? And if they found out, hey, you mess with this married woman, you a dead man. Even Proverbs tells us those who commit adultery with a woman and vice versa, those women who commit adultery with men or women who have already been pledged to somebody, you destroy your own soul and you become a fool. And most of the time, you never lose your shame. People always remember you by that title. You know, they're saying once a cheater, always a cheater. They probably got that from Proverbs. They just changed the words around a little bit. But, okay. But that night, Yahuwah came to Abimelech in a dream and told him, "You are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married." But Abimelech had not slept with her yet. So he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Didn't Abraham tell me she is my sister?" And she herself said, "Yes, he is my brother. I acted in complete innocence. My hands are clean." In the dream, Yahuwah responded, "Yes, I know you were innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me." Yahuwah said, "That's why I kept you from sinning against me," not against Abraham, not against Sarah. He said, "Kept you from sinning against me." In the dream, Yahuwah responded, "Yes, I know you are innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me and why I did not let you touch her. Now return the woman to her husband and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. Then you will live." Abraham was a prophet. We see it right here. "Then you will live. But if you do not return her to him, you can be sure that you and all your people will die." Abimelech got up early the next morning and quickly called his servants together. When he told them what had happened, his men were terrified. Then Abimelech called for Abraham. "What have you done to us?" he demanded. "What crime have I committed that deserves treatment like this, making me and my kingdom guilty of this great sin? No one should ever do what you have done. Whatever possessed you to do such a thing?" Abraham replied, "I thought, this is a godless place. They will want my wife and kill me to get her. And she really is my sister, for we both have the same father but different mothers. And I married her. When Yahuwah called me to leave my father's home to travel from place to place, I told her, 'Do me a favor. When we go, tell the people that I am your brother.' Then Abimelech took some of his sheep and goats and cattle and male and female servants, and he presented them to Abraham. He also returned his wife Sarah to him. Then Abimelech said, 'Look over my land and choose any place where you would like to live.' And he said to Sarah, 'Look, I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver in the presence of all these witnesses. This is to compensate you for any wrong I may have done to you. This will settle any claim against me, and your reputation is cleared.' Then Abraham prayed to Yahuwah, and Yahuwah healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants so that they could have children." This right here gives they pulled this, they left out detail, but you're going to see Yahuwah healed Abimelech, his wife, female servant, so they could have children, because not only did he have a dream, he had already begun to stricken all of Abimelech's kingdom and the women and everything, and it tells us that. Okay. For Yahuwah had caused all the women to be infertile because of what happened with Abraham, Sarah's wife. Okay, our last chapter, Genesis chapter 21, then we're going to jump right over here to Jasher so we can fill in some of these missing pieces. Then Genesis 21. Then Yahuwah kept his word and did for Sarah exactly what he promised. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age. This happened at just the time Yahuwah had said it would, and Abraham named their son Isaac. 8 days after Isaac was born, Abraham circumcised him as Yahuwah commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. And Sarah declared, "Yahuwah has brought me laughter. All who hear about this will laugh with me. Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse a baby, yet I have given Abraham a son in his old age. When Isaac grew up and was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, her Egyptian servant Hagar, making fun of her son Isaac. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, "Get rid of the slave woman and her son. He is not going to share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it." This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son. But Yahuwah told Abraham, "Don't be upset over the boy and your servant. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. But I will also make a nation of the descendants of Hagar's son because he is your son too." So Abraham got up early the next morning and prepared food in a container of water and strapped them on Hagar's shoulders. And then he sent her away with their son, and she wandered aimlessly in the wilderness in Beersheba. When the water was gone, she put the boy in the shade of a bush. When she went down, and then she went and sat down by herself about 100 yards away. "I don't want to watch the boy die," she said, and as she burst into tears. But Yahuwah heard the boy crying, and the angel of Yahuwah called to Hagar from heaven, "Hagar, what's wrong? Don't be afraid. Yahuwah has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Go to him and comfort him, for I will make a great nation from his descendants." And remember, if y'all guys ever went to Sunday school, when y'all heard about this story and you get the little pictures that you color and stuff, when we get to the story about Abraham and Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael, for some reason they always portray Ishmael as this little baby, like still a infant. No, this boy, I think he was 14 years old, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think it'll tell us. We may not read that today, but he was older. He was not an infant. Just in case y'all still had that mental picture, this boy was not an infant. All right. Okay. Okay. I had to find my place. Okay. Then Yahuwah opened. Wait, I'll go back. For go to him and comfort him, for I will make him a great nation from his descendants. I will make a great nation from his descendants. Then Yahuwah opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well full of water. She quickly filled her water container and gave the boy a drink. Yahuwah was with the boy as he grew up in the wilderness. He became a skillful archer, and he settled in the wilderness of Paran. His mother arranged for him to marry a woman from the land of Egypt. About this time, Abimelech came with Phicol, his army commander, to visit Abraham. "Yahuwah is obviously with you, helping you in everything you do," Abimelech said. "Swear to me in Yahuwah's name that you will never deceive me, my children, or any of my descendants. I have been loyal to you, so now swear that you will be loyal to me and to this country where you are living as a foreigner." Abraham replied, "Yes, I swear to it." Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had taken by force from Abraham's servants. "This is the first I've heard of it," Abimelech answered. "I have no idea who is responsible. You have never complained about this before." Abraham then gave some of his sheep, goats, and cattle to Abimelech, and they made a treaty. But Abraham also took 7 additional female lambs and sent them off by themselves. Abimelech asked, Why have you set these 7 apart from the others?" Abraham replied, "Please accept these 7 lambs to show your agreement that I dug this well." Then he named the place Beersheba, which means well of the oath, because that was where they had sworn the oath. After making their covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech left with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned home to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree at Beersheba, and there he worshipped Yahuwah, the eternal God. And Abraham lived as a foreigner in the Philistine country for a long time. Okay, y'all. Now let's hop right on over here to Jasher. Where's that? Oh. Okay, y'all. Now let's read about some of these details about what actually happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, y'all. Okay, let me make this bigger so I can see that. All right, y'all. We're gonna read Jasher 18 and 19, and then we're gonna go back and we're going to read about the full accounts in Jasher 15 and 20 about Sarah and Abraham when they were saying that, hey, she my sister, he my brother. All right, y'all. Okay, Jasher 18 and 19. Okay. 20. Okay, here we go. Jasher chapter 18. We're getting into the details, y'all, of what was going on down here in Sodom and Gomorrah, and why Yahuwah decided we need to go down and look at this real close, just to make sure our eyes are not deceiving us about what's happening in this place. All right, Jasher chapter 18. And Abraham rose and did all that Yahuwah had ordered him, and he took the men of his household and those bought with his money, and he circumcised them as Yahuwah had commanded him. And there was not one left whom he did not circumcise. And Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised in the flesh of their foreskin. 13 years old, listen, 13 years old was Ishmael when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And in the third day, Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door and enjoyed the heat of the sun. Yes, Ishmael was 14 years old, because when the angel showed up, remember they said about this time next year, Sarah is going to have a son. Ishmael right here, when they were circumcised, he was 13 years old. So a year later, he would be 14 years old. Okay. All right, we're on track. And in the third day, Abraham went out of his tent and sat at the door to enjoy the heat of the sun during the pain of his flesh. And Yahuwah appeared to him in the plain of Mamre and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. Listen, pay attention. I'm going to read that again. Y'all pay attention to the details. And Yahuwah appeared to him. He appeared to Abraham in the plain of Mamre and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. Remember, one stayed back to chat with him as he was revealing to him what Yahuwah was saying, and 2 of the angels went ahead to Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. And Yahuwah appeared to him in the plain of Mamre and sent 3 of his ministering angels to visit him. And he was sitting at the door of the tent, and he lifted his eyes and saw, and lo, 3 men were coming from a distance. Remember, these 3 men, they were angels, y'all. And he rose up and ran to meet them, and he bowed down to them and brought them into his house. And he said to them, if now I have found favor in your sight, turn in and eat a morsel of bread. And he pressed them, and they turned in, and he gave them water, and they washed their feet. And he placed them under a tree at the door of the tent. And Abraham ran and took a calf, tender and good, and he hastened to kill it, and gave it to his servant Eliezer to dress. And Abraham came to Sarah into the tent and said to her, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes to cover the pot containing the meat. And she did so. And Abraham hastened and brought before them butter and milk, beef and mutton, and gave it before them to eat before the flesh of the calf was sufficiently done, and they did eat. And when they had done eating, one of them said to him, I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah your woman shall have a son. And the men afterward departed and went their ways to the places to which they were sent. In those days, all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah and of the whole 5 cities were exceedingly wicked and sinful against Yahuwah, and they provoked Yahuwah with their abominations, and they strengthened in aging abominably and scornfully before Yahuwah, meaning they just kept growing more wicked as the days passed. The older they got, the worse they got. And their wickedness and crimes were in those days great before Yahuwah. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about a half day's walk. And in it there were found fountains of water and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times a year. Listen to this, y'all. Here's where the shenanigans, they start telling us about what's happening. I'm going to read this again. And they had in their land a very extensive valley, about a half day's walk, and in it there were fountains of water and a great deal of herbage surrounding the water. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah went there 4 times a year with their women and children and all belonging to them. And they rejoiced there with timbrels and dances. And in the time of rejoicing, they will all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' women, and some, the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. And each man saw his woman and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and they did not say a word. They had a whole orgy going on down here in this valley, and they did this 4 times a year. That's what this just said to us, right? I'm going to read that last verse again. And in the time of rejoicing, they would all rise and lay hold of their neighbors' women, and some, the virgin daughters of their neighbors, and they enjoyed them. And each man saw his woman and daughter in the hands of his neighbor, and did not say a word. And they did so from morning to night. And they afterward returned home, each man to his house, and each woman to her tent. So they always did. So they always did 4 times in the year. They did this religiously 4 times a year. They had a big orgy. Also, when a stranger came into their cities and bought goods which he had purchased with a view to dispose of there, the people of these cities would assemble, men, women, and children, young and old, and go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land. So if somebody decided they're going to go there and do business, they would rob this person. Okay, that's what we had. They would rob him, take everything, and distribute everything that they had took from these people who came to sell in there, and they would distribute it among the wicked people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And then listen to what they did after they distributed all these man's goods and stuff. And go to the man and take his goods by force, giving a little to each man until there was an end to all the goods of the owner which he had brought into the land. And if the owner of the goods quarreled or argued with them, saying, "What is this work which you have done to me?" then they would approach to him one by one. Each would show him the little which he took and taunt him, saying, "I only took a little, that which you did give me." And when he heard this from all of them, he would arise and go from them in sorrow, in the bitterness of his soul, and they would all arise and go after him and drive him out of the city with great noise and tumult. So they would not only take his stuff, but they got in his face after they distributed all that they had taken from him and said, "Look, it's this. I only got this little piece of what you did give me." Like they using like Jedi mind tricks on them. Like, no, you gave this to me, bruh. And so they stole his stuff, then they're taunting him with the stolen goods in front of his face and saying that they're not stolen. Like, I only got this little bit which you did give to me. And there was a man from a country of Elam who was leisurely going on the road, seated upon his ass, which carried a fine mantle of diverse colors. And the mantle was bound with a cord upon the ass. And the man was on his journey, passing through the street of Sodom when the sun set in the evening. We all know, okay, we're about to find out why you should not be in the streets of Sodom and Gomorrah at night. And the man was on his journey, passing through the street of Sodom when the sun set in the evening, and he remained there in order to abide during the night, but no one would let him into his house. And at that time, there was in Sodom a wicked and mischievous man, one skillful to do evil, and his name was Hadad. And he lifted up his eyes and saw the traveler in the street of the city. And he came to him and said, "Whence come you, and whither do you go?" And the man said to him, "I am traveling from Hebron to Elam, where I belong. And as I passed, the sun set, and no one would suffer me to enter his house, though I had bread and water, and also straw and provender for my ass. I am short of nothing." And Hadad answered and said to him, All that you shall want shall be supplied by me, but in the street you shall not abide all night." And Hadad brought him to his house, and he took off the mantle from his ass with the cord. Remember this beautiful mantle that he had draped on his donkey. He took this and this beautiful, colorful cord that his donkey had. He took that off of his donkey. I want to make sure y'all tracking with me. Okay. And Hadad brought him to his house and took off the mantle from the ass with the cord and brought them to his house. And he gave the ass straw and provender while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house. Remember that he just said, listen, don't worry about that. I know you got all your stuff. Come here. I got everything you need. You ain't got to touch your stuff. I got straw and provender that I'll give you. And I got food that you can eat. Don't worry about using your stuff. You're a guest in my house. I'm going to provide. He said, I'm going to provide everything for you. This is what this man just told him. And he gave the ass straw and provender while the traveler ate and drank in Hadad's house, and he abode there that night. And in the morning, the traveler rose up early to continue his journey, and Hadad said to him, wait, comfort your heart with a morsel of bread and then go. And the man did so, and he remained with him, and they both ate and drank together during the day when the man rose up to go. And Hadad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. You had better remain all night, that your heart may be comforted. And he pressed him so that he tarried there all night. And on the second day he rose up early to go away. When Hadad pressed him, saying, comfort your heart with a morsel of bread and then go. And he remained and ate with him also the second day. And then the man rose up to continue his journey. And Hadad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me. He should have picked up, wait, what you doing, bro? Hold on. I was trying to leave then. And I listened to you. Yeah, it is getting late. You probably told me some of the stories about what happened. So, yeah, okay, I'm going to stay with you another day. And Hadad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me to comfort your heart. And in the morning, rise up early and go your way. And the man would not remain. He's like, something don't seem right here. I got to roll. Shalom, shalom, mother. We in Jasher chapter 18. We getting into the details of the wickedness that Sodom and Gomorrah is doing. Okay. And Hadad said to him, behold, now the day is declining. Remain with me to comfort your heart. And in the morning, rise up early and go your way. And the man would not remain, but rose and saddled his ass. And while he was saddling his ass, the woman of Hadad said to her man, behold, this man has remained with us for 2 days, eating and drinking, and he has given us nothing. And now shall he go away from us without giving us anything? And Hadad said to her, be silent. Remember, Hadad was the one that offered this man. He said, come in my house and I'll provide everything. He said, although you told me I don't need to provide anything because you come with everything that you need. You said you lack nothing. As my guest, it is my honor to give you of my food and of my supplies to give and make sure your ass is comfortable. Come on in here. Everything is on me. That's what Hadad told him. But now he about to leave his wife. Hey, you've been with us here 2 days and you ain't offered us nothing. Hadad said, listen, woman, be silent. But listen to the shenanigans Hadad about to pull. And Hadad said to her, be silent. And the man saddled his ass to go. And he asked Hadad to give him the cord and the mantle to tie upon the ass. Listen. And Hadad said to him, what say you? And he said to him, that you, my lord, shall give me the cord and the mantle made with diverse colors, which you did conceal in your house to take care of it. And Hadad answered the man, this is the interpretation of your dream. I would have been like, wait, first of all, when you talk about no dream, but listen, he start with these Jedi mind tricks now. Listen. And Hadad answered the man, said, this is the interpretation of your dream. The cord which you did see means that your life will be lengthened out like a cord. And having seen the mantle colored with all sorts of colors means you shall have a vineyard in which you will plant trees of all fruits. And the traveler answered, saying, not so, my lord. Hold on. For I was awake when I gave you the cord, and also the mantle woven with different colors, which you did take off the ass and put them up for me. And Hadad answered and said, surely I have told you the interpretation of your dream. Remember, it told us that Hadad was very skillful in doing evil. Listen to what he does. Surely I have told you the interpretation of your dream, and it is a good dream, and this is the interpretation thereof. Now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting dreams. And of you only, I require 3 pieces of silver. So now, I done gave you the interpretation of this dream. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I did not have a dream. This happened. I was awake, bruh. Hey, Dad, I was awake I had this when I came in. I was awake. I heard in Black Man what you said. I was awake. Give me my stuff back. He said, listen, the services I just rendered to you interpreting your dream, I normally charge people 4 silver coins, but I'm going to give you a discount. Only give me 3. I'd have been ready to fight. Listen, now the sons of men give me 4 pieces of silver, which is my charge for interpreting dreams. And of you, I only require 3 pieces of silver. And the man was provoked at the words of Hadad, and he cried bitterly. And he brought Hadad to Sirach, the judge of Sodom. And the man laid his cause before Sirach, the judge. When Hadad replied, saying, it is not so, but thus the matter stands. And the judge said to the traveler, this man Hadad tells you the truth, for he is famed in the cities for accurate interpretation of dreams. Like, he got everybody fooled. So we think, are they all in cahoots together? Listen. And the man cried at the word of the judge, and he said, not so, my lord, for it was in the day that I gave him the cord and mantle which was upon the ass, in order to put them by in his house. And they both disputed before the judge, one saying, thus the matter was, and the other declaring otherwise. And Hadad said to the man, give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretations of dreams, and I will not make any allowance. He said, I was giving you the discount at first, but no, I want all 4 coins now. I'm like, you're not entitled to any coins at all. Give me my stuff. Right? So this is what's going on. But we're going to find out that this judge is in cahoots with this very wise, evil deceiver, Hadad, right? Because he about to roll up on the right one. Listen. And Hadad said to the man, give me 4 pieces of silver that I charge for my interpretation of dreams, and I will not make any allowance. And give me the expense of the 4 meals that you did eat in my house. He says, so not only that, all that food that you ate too, over these last couple of days, I want the price of all that too. And the man said to Hadad, truly, I will pay you for what I ate in your house. Only give me the cord and mantle which you did conceal in your house. And Hadad replied before the judge and said to the man, excuse me, did I not tell you the interpretation of your dream? The cord means your days shall be prolonged like a cord, and the mantle that you have a vineyard, and the mantle that you will have a vineyard in which you will plant all kinds of fruit trees. This is the proper interpretation of your dream. Now give me the 4 pieces of silver that I require as compensation, for I will make you no allowance. And the man cried at the words of Hadad, and they both quarreled before the judge. And the judge gave orders to his servants, who drove them rashly from the house. And they went away quarreling from the judge. When the people of Sodom heard them, they gathered about them, and they exclaimed against the stranger, and they drove him rashly from the city. And the man continued his journey upon his ass with bitterness of soul, lamenting and weeping. And while he was going along, he wept at what happened to him in the corrupt city of Sodom. Jasher chapter 19. And the cities of Sodom had 4 judges to 4 cities, and these were their names: Sirach in the city of Sodom, Sharkad in Gomorrah, Zavnak in Admah, and Menon in Sevim. And Eleazar, remember Eleazar's servant, Eleazar, Abraham's servant, applied to them different names, and he converted Sirach to Shakra, and Sharkad to Shakrura, Zivnak to Kizothiam, and Menon to Matzalidin. I know I screwed them names up, but bear with me, y'all. And by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, listen, and by the desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him to lie in them. And as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet, and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end. And when he cried out, they would not answer him. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would not answer him, saying, thus shall it be done to a man that comes into our land. And when the men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold and cause a proclamation in the whole city and not give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if a stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold which they had given to him. Now that's wicked. So they got a poor man, they recognize he poor, then they lavish him with all this silver and gold. And after they give him the silver and gold, they tell everybody in their city, listen, don't let this poor man buy nothing from y'all. Let him starve to death. Don't let him purchase no food or nothing. This happened until the man who was poor, who they had made rich, to give him all the silver and gold coins until he had died of starvation. And then these regions went back and took all the coins that he had, took it off his dead body. I'm like, y'all, woo. These are some of the things that was happening down in Sodom and Gomorrah. Listen. And I'll read the last verse again. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread. And if the stranger would remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold which they had given to him. And those that could recognize the silver or gold which they had given him took it back. And at his death they also stripped him of his garments, and they would fight about them, and he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. And they would after that carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the desert. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. And in the course of time, Sarah sent Eleazar to Sodom to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eleazar went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom. And Eleazar went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And this poor man cried to Eleazar and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, why do you act thus to the poor who came into your land? And the man of Sodom answered Eleazar, saying, is this man your brother? Or have the people of Sodom made you a judge this day that you speak about this man? And Eleazar strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eleazar approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened and with a stone smote Eleazar in the forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eleazar's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eleazar, saying, give me my hire for having rid you of this bad blood that was in your forehead. For such is the custom and the law in our land. Like, they making up laws and customs on the fly. Listen to what he just said. The man Eleazar was fighting with took a rock and hit him upside the head with it. And then he said, listen, you have bad blood in your forehead. You need to give me my hire, give me my wages for having rid you of that bad blood in your forehead. I'm going to read that again. And the blood flowed copiously from Eleazar's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eleazar, saying, give me my hire for having rid you of this bad blood that was in your forehead. For such is the custom and law in our land. And Eleazar said to him, you have wounded me and required me to pay you for your hire. And Eleazar would not hearken to the words of the man of Sodom. And remember, Eleazar comes from Abraham's house. Remember, Abraham, if you went back and read, Abraham led armies. And he got some of the baddest men. Eleazar was bad. Listen. And the man laid hold of Eleazar and brought him to Shapra, the judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech you, my lord, thus has this man done, for I smote him with a stone, that the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire. And the judge said to Eleazar, this man speaks truth to you. Give him his hire, for this is the custom in our land. And Eleazar heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up. He said, all y'all pissing me off. You and the judges too. Listen to what he did, what Eleazar did. I'll just go back and start it over. And the judge said to Eleazar, this man speaks the truth to you. Give him his hire, for this is the custom in our land. And Eleazar heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone and smote the judge, and the stone struck on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eleazar said, listen to what he said. Eleazar said, if this then is the custom in your land, give you unto this man what I should have given him, for this has been your decision. You did decree it. So he said, oh, this is, and I know he just made this up on the fly. Like he just created this law and you in cahoots with him. So apparently y'all have come to a consensus together before I even arrived that this is what y'all was going to do. So anybody that comes to the judge is always going to be in agreement with the wicked people of this place saying, yes, this is our custom. Give this man his hire for what he did for you. So he said, if this is your custom, y'all can bash people across the head. He said, this is what I'm going to do. He picked up a rock. He bashed the judge across the head. So since I owe this man and now I can just read you the bad blood in your forehead, give to him what you should have given me. I'm out. Boy, I was hollering when I read this part. I was like, go, Eleazar. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let me finish reading, y'all. Eleazar said, if this then is the custom in your land, give it unto this man what I should have given him, for this has been your decision. You did decree it. And Eleazar left the man of Sodom with the judge, and he went away. And when the kings of Elam had made war with the kings of Sodom, the kings of Elam captured all the property of Sodom, and they took Lot captive with his property. And when it was told to Abraham, he went and made war with the kings of Elam, and he recovered from their hands all the property of Lot as well as the property of Sodom. At that time, the woman of Lot bore him a daughter, and he called her name Paltith, saying, because Yahuwah have delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a woman. And a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth. And they did so. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the streets and starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive. And he was just upon the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity on the account of the man, and she fed him secretly with bread for many days, and the soul of this man was revived. For when she had sent forth to fetch water, she would put the bread in the water pitcher, and when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took the bread from the pitcher and gave it to him to eat. So she did many days. Remember, we're still looking at all the details of all the wickedness that was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah wondered how this man could bear starvation for so many days. And they said to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks, for no man can bear starvation for so many days or live as this man has without even his countenance changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in a place where the poor man was stationed to know who it was that brought him bread to eat. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water, and she put bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw water by the poor man's place. And she took out the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate it. And the 3 men saw what Paltith did to the poor man, and they said to her, it is you then who have supported him, and therefore he has not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest. And the 3 men went out of the place in which they were concealed, and they seized Paltith and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. Remember, this is Lot's daughter. And they took Paltith and brought her before their judges, and they said to them, thus did she do, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time. Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the street of the city. And they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burnt to ashes. In the city of Admah, there was a woman to whom they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night with the intention of going home in the morning. And he sat opposite side of the door of the house of the young woman's father to remain there. And as the sun had set, when he had reached that place, and the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house, And he asked her for a drink of water, and she said to him, "Who are you?" And he said to her, "I was this day going on the road and reached here when the sun set, so I will abide here all night. And in the morning I will arise early and continue my journey." And the young woman went into the house and fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. And this affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled and brought the young woman before the judges, that they should judge her for this act. And the judge said, "The judgment of death must pass upon this woman because she transgressed our law. And this therefore is the decision concerning her." And the people of those cities assembled and brought out the young woman and anointed her with honey from head to foot, as the judge had decreed. And they placed her before a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives. And the bees flew upon her and stung her, that her whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried out on account of the bees, but no one took notice of her or pitied her, and her cries ascended to heaven. And Yahuwah was provoked at this, and that all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had abundance of food. Listen. And Yahuwah was provoked at this, and at all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had abundance of food and had tranquility amongst them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days their evil doings and sin became great before Yahuwah. Listen, Yahuwah said, not only are they doing all these wicked things, but remember what we're going to see this time around, that Yahuwah has a heart for the widow, the orphan, the needy. And he tells his people, listen, even when you glean your fields, even when you harvest your fields, leave some for the poor to come and glean. And when you see them gleaning, don't mess with them, right? So, and this what really sent it over the top by them doing this to the poor when they had an abundance of food and everything, right? I read it again and we'll keep going. And Yahuwah was provoked at this and at all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had abundance of food and had tranquility amongst them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days, their evil doings and sins became great before Yahuwah. And Yahuwah sent for two of the angels that had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. Remember, three of them showed up at Abraham's house, and Yahuwah, after they ate, he said, "Y'all go ahead, and while you stay here and talk to Abraham, I need you to relay some information to him." You know, so these are the two angels. Yahuwah told them, "Y'all go ahead to the city, and y'all give me a detailed witness of y'all actually being there in the city, and tell me if all these things are true, what we are seeing, and all the cries that are rising up here to my throne." And Yahuwah sent for two of the angels that had come to Abraham's house to destroy Sodom and its cities. And the angels rose up from the door of Abraham's tent after they had eaten and drunk, and they reached Sodom in the evening. And Lot was then sitting in the gate of Sodom. And when he saw them, he arose to meet them, and he bowed down to the ground. And he pressed them greatly and brought them into his house, and he gave them victuals, which they ate, and they abode all night in his house. And the angel said to Lot, "Arise, go forth from this place, you and all belonging to you, lest you should be consumed in the iniquity of this city, for Yahuwah will destroy this place." And the angels laid hold upon the hand of Lot and upon the hand of his woman. Excuse me, listen. And the angels laid hold upon the hand of Lot and upon the hand of his woman, his wife, and upon the hands of his children, and all belonging to him. And they brought him forth and set him without the cities. And they said to Lot, "Escape for your life." And he fled, and all belonging to him. Then Yahuwah rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah and upon all these cities brimstone and fire from Yahuwah out of heaven. And he overthrew these cities, all the circle of the Jordan, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. And Ado, the woman of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities for her compassion. Listen, this is how we know two of his daughters didn't go. Listen. And Ado, the woman of Lot, looked back to see the destruction of the cities, for her compassion was moved on the account of her daughters who remained in Sodom, for they did not go with her. And when she looked back, she became a pillar of salt, and it is yet in that place unto this day. And the oxen which stood in that place daily licked up the salt to the extremities of their feet. And in the morning it would spring forth afresh. And again they licked it up unto this day. And Lot and two of his daughters that remained with him fled and escaped to the cave of Adullam. later this cave of Adullam is also the same cave that King David fled to when he was running from King Saul, the cave of Adullam. Remember that. And they remained there for some time. And Abraham rose up early in the morning to see what had been done to the cities of Sodom. And he looked and beheld the smoke of the cities going up like the smoke of a furnace. And Lot and his 2 daughters remained in the cave. And they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him, for they said there was no man upon the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought the whole earth was destroyed. And they both lay with their father, and they conceived and bore sons. And the firstborn called the name of her son Moab, saying, "For my father did I conceive him. He is the father of the Moabites unto this day." And the younger also called her son Ben-Ami, because he is the father of the children of Ammon until this day. And after this, Lot and his daughters went away from there. He dwelt on the other side of the Jordan with his 2 daughters and their sons. And the sons of Lot grew up, and they went and took themselves women from the land of Canaan, and they begat children, and they were fruitful and multiplied. All right, y'all. So that is the details of what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah. And I know we're right at the hour mark, but if y'all got to go ahead and just remember that this is recorded. But I do want to read real quick Jasher 15 and 20, and you can see when Sarah and Abraham, why they said that he is my brother and she is my sister, so Abraham wouldn't be killed. But there are some things that happened after he said this, so it'll help you get a better understanding of what happened. So I'm gonna go ahead and read Jasher 15. And so the first time, remember in the Bible, we read that that when Abimelech had took Sarah, that his whole house and kingdom was cursed on account of Sarah. But remember, this wasn't the first time. It first happened here. And we'll read in Jasher 15. It happened in Egypt with the Pharaoh. Okay, so I'm going to make it quick, y'all. Jasher chapter 15. And I put all these references in the description in the comment section for those of you who want to go back and read it later and lay your eyes on it, lay your own personal eyes on it. And in that year, there was a heavy famine throughout the land of Canaan. And the inhabitants of the land could not remain on the account of the famine, for it was very grievous. And Abram and all his belongings rose up and went down to Mitzrayim. Remember, Mitzrayim is Egypt. That's another name for Egypt. Went down to Mitzrayim on the account of the famine. And when they were at the brook Mitzrayim, and when they were at the brook Mitzrayim, they remained there some time to rest from the fatigue of the road. And Abram and Sarai were walking. Remember, we went back, so their name hadn't been changed just yet. And Abram and Sarai were walking at the border of Egypt, and Abram beheld his woman Sarai, that she was very beautiful. And Abram said to his woman Sarai, "Since Yahuwah has created you with such a beautiful countenance, I am afraid of the Egyptians, lest they should slay me and take you away. For the fear of Yahuwah is not in these places. Surely then you shall do this. Say, you are my sister, to all that may ask you, in order that it may be well with me, and that we may live and not be put to death." And Abram commanded the same to all that came with him to Mitzrayim, or to Egypt, on account of the famine. Also his nephew Lot he commanded, saying, "If the Egyptians ask you concerning Sarah, say she is my sister. Say she is the sister of Abram." And yet with all these orders, Abram did not put confidence in them, but he took Sarai and put her in a chest and concealed it amongst their vessels. So even in all that, he didn't trust them to, keep with what he was saying. So he figured in his mind, he reasoned this, it'll be better if we just go ahead and hide Sarah, and nobody can even ask about her. So nobody's going to have to lie. So he took his wife and put her in a chest while they were passing through. Listen to this now. For Abram was greatly concerned about Sarai on account of the wickedness of the Egyptians. And Abraham and all belonging to him rose up from the brook Egypt, Mitzrayim, and came to Mitzrayim, and they had scarcely entered the gates of the city when the guards stood up to them, saying, "Give tithe to the king from what you have, and then you may come into the town." And Abram and those that were with him did so. And Abram with the people that were with him came to Mitzrayim. And when they came, they brought the chest in which Sarai was concealed, and the Egyptians saw the chest. And the king's servants approached Abram, saying, "What have you here in this chest which we have not seen? Now open you the chest and give a tithe to the king of all that it contains." And Abram said, "This chest I will not open, but all you demand upon it I will give." For Pharaoh's officers answered Abram, saying, "It is a chest of precious stones. Give us a tenth thereof." And Abram said, "All that you desire I will give, but you must not open the chest." And the king's officers pressed Abram, and they reached the chest and opened it with force. And they saw, and behold, a beautiful woman was in the chest. And when the officers of the king beheld Sarai, they were struck with admiration at her beauty. And all the princes and servants of Pharaoh assembled to see Sarai, for she was very beautiful. And the king's officers ran and told Pharaoh all they had seen, and they praised Sarai to the king. And Pharaoh ordered her to be brought. And the woman came before the king. And Pharaoh beheld Sarai, and she pleased him exceedingly, and he was struck with her beauty. And the king rejoiced greatly on her account, and made presents to those who brought him tidings concerning her. And the woman was then brought to Pharaoh's house, and Abram grieved on account of his woman, and prayed to Yahuwah to deliver her from the hands of Pharaoh. And Sarai, hey, guys, hush. And Sarai also prayed at the time and said, "O Yahuwah, you did tell my lord Abram to go from his land and from his father's house to the land of Canaan, and you did promise to do well with him if he would perform your commands. And now we have done that which you commanded us, and we left our land and our families, and we went into a strange land to a people whom we have not known before. And we came to this land to avoid the famine, and this evil accident has befallen me." Hush y'all. "And we came to this land to avoid the famine, and this evil accident has befallen me. Now therefore, O Yahuwah, deliver us and save us from the hand of this oppressor, and do well with me for the sake of your mercy." And Yahuwah hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Yahuwah sent an angel to deliver Sarai from the power of Pharaoh. And I also want to read this, y'all, to help y'all. To help y'all see that when we cry out to Yahuwah, when we know we're doing what's right, we can cry out to him, and he will hear us, right? And he'll hearken unto us. And Yahuwah hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Yahuwah sent an angel to deliver Sarai from the power of Pharaoh. And the king came and sat before Sarai, and behold, the angel of Yahuwah was standing over them. And he appeared to Sarai and said to her, "Do not fear, for Yahuwah has heard your prayer." And the king approached Sarai and said to her, "What is this man that you brought? What is that man to you who brought you hither?" And she said, "He is my brother." And the king said, "It is incumbent upon us to make him great, to elevate him, and to do unto him all the good which you shall command us." And at the time, the king sent to Abram silver and gold and precious stones in abundance, together with cattle, men servants, and maid servants. And the king ordered Abram to be brought. And he sat in the court of the king's house, and the king greatly exalted Abram on that night. And the king approached, listen to this, y'all. And here's where it's about to start getting real. And the king approached to speak to Sarai, and he reached out his hand to touch her when the angel smote him heavily, and he was terrified, and he refrained from reaching to her. And when the king came near to Sarai, the angel smote him to the ground, and thus acted thus to him the whole night, and the king was terrified. Turn it down. And the angel on that night smote heavily all the servants of the king and the whole household on the account of Sarai. And there was a great lamentation that night amongst the people in Pharaoh's house. And Pharaoh, seeing the evil that befell him, said, "Surely on account of this woman has this thing happened to me." And he removed himself at some distance from her and spoke pleasing words to her. And the king said to Sarai, "Tell me, I pray you, concerning the man with whom you came here." And Sarai said, "This man is my man. And I said to you, he was my brother, for I was afraid lest you would put him to death through wickedness." And the king kept away from Sarai, and the plagues of the angel of Yahuwah ceased from him and his household. And Pharaoh knew that he was smitten on the account of Sarai. And the king was greatly astonished at this. And in the morning, the king called for Abram, and he said to him, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you say she is my sister, owing to which I took her unto me to be my woman. And this heavy plague has therefore come upon me and my household. Now therefore, here is your woman. Take her and go from our land, lest we all die on her account. And Pharaoh took more cattle, men servants, maid servants, and silver and gold to give to Abram. And he returned unto him Sarai his woman. And the king took a maiden whom he begat by his concubines, and gave her to Sarai for a handmaid. And the king said to his daughter, it is better for you, my daughter, to be a handmaid in this man's house than to be mistress in my house. And after we have beheld the evil that befell us on account of this woman. And Abram rose, he and all belonging to him, and went away from Mitzrayim. And Pharaoh ordered some of his men to accompany him, and all that went with him. And Abram returned to the land of Canaan, to the place where he had made an altar, and where he had first pitched his tent. All right, y'all. So from there, I'm gonna stop and go ahead and hop over to Jasher 20. I didn't read the rest of it. It's like 10 verses left, but it's going into a lot, and we read some of it already. So we're going to hop right over, because the purpose of reading this was to see what happened with the Pharaoh and Abimelech, right? Okay, so the Bible, Genesis only tells us about Abimelech, but he knew what had happened to his household had previously happened on account of these two. He's like, wait a minute. These some two people, that beautiful woman that we heard about that wreaked havoc in Pharaoh's house. Listen, we got to get rid of her. All right, y'all, Jasher chapter 20. And this now is talking to Abimelech, and it's going into more detail about what happened to them.
This is your rocket.
And at that time, his name was now changed to Abraham. At that time, Abraham journeyed from the plain of Mamre, and he went to the land of the Philistines, and he dwelt in Gerar. And it was the 25th year of Abraham's being in the land of Canaan, and the 100th year of the life of Abraham, that he came to Gerar in the land of the Philistines. And when he entered the land, he said to Sarah his woman, say you are my sister to anyone that shall ask you, in order that we may escape the evil of the inhabitants of the land. Remember, not only did Abraham and Sarah do this, but Isaac and Rebekah did the same thing, right? And as Abraham was dwelling in the land of the Philistines, the servants of Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, saw that Sarah was exceedingly beautiful, and they asked Abraham concerning her, and he said, she is my sister. And the servants of Abimelech went to Abimelech, saying, a man from the land of Canaan is come to dwell in our land, and he has a sister that is exceeding fair. And Abimelech heard the words of his servants, who praised Sarah to him. And Abimelech sent his offers, and they brought Sarah to the king. And Sarah came to the house of Abimelech, and the king saw that Sarah was beautiful, and she pleased him exceedingly. When he approached her and said to her, what is that man to you with whom you did come to our land? And Sarah answered and said, he is my brother, and we came from the land of Canaan to dwell wherever we could find a place. And Abimelech said to Sarah, behold, my land is before you. Place your brother in any part of this land that pleases you, and it will be our duty to exalt and elevate him above all the people of the land, since he is your brother. Move, boy. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, and Abraham came to Abimelech. And Abimelech said to Abraham, behold, I have given orders that you shall be honored as you desire on account of your sister Sarah. And Abraham went forth from the king, and the king's present followed him. As at evening time, before men lie down to rest, the king was sitting upon his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him, and he lay upon the throne and slept till morning. And he dreamed that an angel of Yahuwah came to him with a drawn sword in his hand. And the angel stood over Abimelech and wished to slay him with the sword. And the king was terrified in his dream, and said to the angel, in what have I sinned against you, that you come to slay me with your sword? And the angel answered and said to Abimelech, behold, you die on account of the woman which you did yesternight bring into your house, for she is a married woman, the woman of Abraham who came to your house. Now therefore return that man his woman, for she is his woman. And should you not return her, know that you will surely die, and all belonging to you. And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Philistines, and the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man standing with a drawn sword in his hand. And he smote the inhabitants of the land with the sword. Yea, he continued to smite them. And the angel of Yahuwah smote the whole land of the Philistines on that night, and there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning, and every womb was closed, and all their issues, and the hand of Yahuwah was upon them on the account of Sarah, woman of Abraham, whom Abimelech had taken. Yahuwah caused havoc to go through an entire kingdom on the account of one woman. Two people, two of his people, Abraham and his wife. He was going to destroy the whole kingdom because of what they was doing to them. And in the morning, Abimelech arose with terror and confusion and with great dread. And he sent and had his servants called in, and he related his dream to them, and the people were greatly afraid. And one man standing amongst the servants of the king answered and said, O sovereign king, restore this woman to her man, for he is her man. For the like happened to the king of Mitzrayim when this man came to Mitzrayim. See, he recalled, and hey, this has happened before in Egypt. Listen, look, they got to get out of here. And he said concerning this woman, she is my sister, for such is his manner of doing when he comes to dwell in a land where he is a stranger. And Pharaoh sent and took his woman for a woman, and Yahuwah brought upon him grievous plagues until he returned the woman to her man. Now, therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land. So while the king was dreaming, something was really happening in the land where they were at, in the land of the Philistines. Now, therefore, O sovereign king, know what happened yesternight to the whole land, for there was a very great consternation and great pain and lamentation, and we know that it was on the account of the woman which you did take. Now, therefore, restore this woman to her man, lest it should befall us as it did Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and his subjects, that we may not die. And Abimelech hastened and called, and had Sarah called for, and she came before him. And he had Abraham called for, and he came before him. And Abimelech said to them, what is this work you have been doing and saying you are brother and sister? And I took this woman for a woman. And Abraham said, because I thought I should suffer death on account of my woman. And Abimelech took flocks and herds and men servants and maid servants and 1,000 pieces of silver, and he gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah to him. And Abimelech said to Abraham, behold, the whole land is before you, dwell in it wherever you shall choose. And Abraham and Sarah his woman went forth from the king's presence with honor and respect, and they dwelt in the land, even in Gerar. And all the inhabitants of the land of the Philistines and the king's servants were still in pain, though the plague which the angel had inflicted upon them the whole night on the account of Sarah. And Abimelech sent for Abraham, saying, pray now for your servants to Yahuwah, that he may put away this mortality from amongst us. And Abraham prayed on the account of Abimelech and his servants. And Yahuwah heard the prayer of Abraham, and he healed Abimelech and all his servants. Remember before he said that man is a prophet, and he's going to pray for you. So after Abimelech restored Sarah to him, and they went ahead on now, and they took the best portion of the land, they were still being grieved. Their women were still barren. They were still in pain from the plagues that Yahuwah had brought on the house. And then he called for Abraham again. He said, listen, bro, come pray for us. And that's when Abraham came back and he prayed for him. And Yahuwah healed the king of the Philistines, Abimelech, and all his kingdom. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. I know it was a little long, but I wanted to give y'all the details before we moved on so y'all can fill in some of the missing pieces that you may not quite understand. So that was Genesis 19, 20, and 21. And we read Jasher 18 and 19, which gave us the details of the wickedness that was going on inside of Sodom and Gomorrah. And then we went to Jasher 15 and 20. And Jasher 15, we read about Pharaoh, how he took Sarah. And Jasher 20, how Abimelech took Sarah. So I'll put all these in the, like I said, in the description, in the comment section, so you can go back and you can read it yourself when you get a chance, if you should choose to. All right, so let's do the blessing real quick, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow, and the man or woman can take that vow, and it is still relevant, and you can still do it today. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I shall bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all, and I will see y'all bright and early in the morning. Also, guys, as they're kicking back up, and they're saying that the cases of coronavirus are going to remind you guys, keep your immune systems up. Eat a lot of fruits and veggies. If you can get vitamin C and zinc, get some of that. Keep your immune systems up. I got some burdock root. I got the tea, and I got the liquid form of that, where you can put it in water. It doesn't even have a taste. You can drink it. Keep your immune systems up. It's something good to give to the kids. Vitamin C, everything, y'all. So that way, as it's making its rounds throughout the earth, you are not affected. And if you do happen to be affected and you test positive, it won't. It really won't affect you. Your system will be built up enough to where it can fight it off. All right, links for what? Oh, for what I'm saying. Okay, I'll also put links where you can get some of the stuff where like I order most of my stuff from Amazon or from health food stores where I know they got good stuff. Also, sea moss. Oh, for the burdock root. Okay, I'll send you that link. I got two of them for the tea and the liquid that I have. I just posted for everybody so y'all can see. It's really good. I actually started giving the liquid form to my children yesterday. I just took a dropper full, put it in water. You can see it turns it like the water, it turns it a little bit color. It's not clear, but you can tell it's from the burdock root liquid. I put it in there and they drunk it. And at first I was like, yeah. But I tasted it first. I was like, oh yeah, because I just put it in. I add more to my burdock root tea or whatever into my smoothie. But they drunk it all up. They said, why it look like this? I said, look, okay, let's do it again. I drunk that. Look, water. And this is the vitamins, the burdock root. And I put it in and said, okay. They say, how it tastes? And they're like, oh, it don't have a taste. So if all my kids drink it, your kids will probably drink it too. Except for him. He didn't get any last night because he was through the house. But Josh, Bella, and Zay took it, and I did. So, but all right, y'all. So I'll put the links for the reading and for some of the stuff. Keep your immune systems up, y'all. Take care of your bodies so your body can take care of you when the world is, going awry. All right, y'all. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you all. Making ice cream. All right.